Not gonna lie, man, if you want a keyboard that doesn't sound like a jackhammer every single time that you hit the spacebar, Be Quiet might have finally cracked the code on this. I've been testing all four of their latest keyboards, the dark mount and light mount lines, both in tactile and linear switch versions. Spoiler, these things are quiet. They're clean and shockingly good, but not without a few quirks. So here's the rundown without any of the hype behind them. Let's start this out with the dark mount tactile, which honestly feels like the flagship of the entire lineup. This one is extremely modular. You have a detachable number pad and media dock that can snap onto the left or right. Or you can just ditch them entirely if you're trying to save space or go full minimalist. Typing on this, satisfying. It's tactile but not obnoxiously loud. The stabilizers are pre-lubed and actually good. No rattly space bars or mushy shifts. And you can hot swap the switches if you want to nerd out. You also have these 8 little display keys that you can customize with icons or GIFs. RGB lighting, gorgeous. Per key, ARGB with a clean underglow around the entire keyboard. It's bright but not blinding. And yes, it all works with Be Quiet's IO Center software, which surprisingly is pretty good. Downsides, it is big. Even with the modular design, this isn't some low profile, travel friendly keyboard, and the media dock display is nice, but it's more for aesthetics than functionality. You're going to be using your key or you're going to be using your PC much more than you're going to be using that thing. Dark Mount Linear. This is the same exact keyboard, but smoother strokes with zero tactile bump. It's the same design, same features, just with linear switches that are buttery smooth and whisper quiet. Honestly, this version is for people who hate the feel of knowing you click to click, if that makes sense to you. Everything else identical to the tactical version. So if you're deciding between these, it really just comes down to whether or not you want that tactile feedback or not, because they are both like beyond silent. Here's a sound clip of what these things sound like. I'm going to increase the gain by 10. I'm not going to adjust the gain this time. The spacebar is always the most obnoxious, so let's use this. That is, I mean, that's a good enough test for you. Like, there's no way, man. That is just, we're talking about like a 20%. Or not 20, like 20 times quieter. Like I can barely even hear that, man. That's crazy. So moving on to the light mount linear, which is basically the sleeker, lighter cousin of the dark mount. You lose the modular number pad and dock here, but you gain a smaller footprint and a way cleaner layout. The big standout here is the 3D aluminum media wheel, which actually is super satisfying to use alongside the actual keyboard along the line of all four of these things. Volume, mute, and 5 dedicated macro keys. This is a little bit more streamlined and a keyboard that much more people are going to find useful, but it has everything that you would expect from a modern premium gaming keyboard. It has the pure key ARGB, it has the hot swappable switches, and then it also has the ability to be using that full IO center from Be Quiet. The switches are the same silent linear orange switches used on the other models, pre-lubed, smooth, and extremely quiet, hence Be Quiet. And these things are dampened with the stabilizers and through the foam underneath the PCB and between the layers. They really aren't joking about making these keyboards and the entire lineup, quote unquote, be quiet. This one is great if you want that premium experience without the bulk or modular gimmicks. It still has the magnetic palm rest like the other versions. It's still built like a tank, and it's it's just more of a plug and play option, if that makes sense to you. Last up is the Light Mount Tactile. It's the same board as the linear version, but with tactile switches. So if you want a more traditional feel, but still want a quiet board with no echo or rattle, and I'm talking like at all, you heard what these things sound like. They are beyond quiet across the entire thing, but I'm trying to make it more understandable for people that like there is a feel, like there's a feel to the key, and I'm trying to explain that, but it's you have to like use that noise like in order to explain what I'm saying. But either way, everything else about this is the same. RGB lighting looks clean. The media wheel is still great. The build quality is solid. You're basically just deciding between smooth versus bumpy keystrokes here. So wrap up. Who are these keyboards for? If you want full modularity, a premium build, and some flashy features like the display keys, then go for the dark mount. Tactile equals clicky satisfaction without being loud. Linear equals smooth and silent gaming or workhorse use. If you want a more compact keyboard without sacrificing quality, then go light mount. Linear equals best for silent, fast keystrokes. Tactile equals slightly more feedback without going full mechanical clack. They're all hot swappable. They're all built like tanks. And each one of these is extremely satisfying to use. The only complaint that I have about the dark version of these keyboards, the dark mount linear and the dark mount tactile, is there are magnetic legs on these. And if you manhandle the keyboard like I do when you're playing video games and you really like get into that game and you're just like a super like, man, I gotta like own everybody in this match. Those legs, they I don't want to say that they're bad, but because of the number pad being able to be attached to it, it doesn't feel solid, if that makes sense to you. So because it's so modular and everything like clips in together, it doesn't have that like super solid, rugged feel. However, if you detach that number pad, it feels extremely solid and extremely premium. So it's kind of like it's a it's a it's a win-lose situation. You get the fully customizable. You can put that thing on the right or you can put it on the left. You have all the hotkeys that you can add to it. The buttons are customizable, and it is an incredible keyboard, but that solid premium feel for people like myself that manhandle their keyboards while they're like in a very competitive I know you know what I'm talking about. Then that one is you probably I don't want to say I don't recommend it because it's such a good keyboard, but just note if you do that, you're going to want to take that attachment off because the legs on the back of it and the way it attaches without any clips, it makes it just doesn't have that like solid feel to it. But across the board, man, incredible lineup of keyboards. Highly recommend these things. It is just crazy to me how satisfying a keyboard can actually be.